Welcome to This Explainer. I want you to start by picturing a completely normal, everyday moment. You sit down to a perfectly cooked meal. The smell is absolutely amazing, the room is quiet, and everything is just right. But almost instantly, you feel this itch, this sudden urge to reach into your pocket and grab your phone. You aren't full, you definitely aren't expecting an urgent message, and yet you just can't seem to sit still in that moment of completeness. Why is it that in our modern, hyper-connected world, where we literally have almost everything we need right at our fingertips, we constantly feel this lingering sense of lack? Well, today, we're focusing on a 2,600-year-old Buddhist concept that diagnoses this exact modern condition perfectly. It's called Taṇhā, and understanding it, it might just be the key to reclaiming your peace of mind.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll look at the paradox of abundance, the three forms of craving, timeless metaphors, the mechanism of craving, and we'll wrap up with 5 steps to freedom.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The paradox of abundance.
So this inability to just be fully present, it's really the core symptom of our era. The word Taṇhā in Pali literally translates to thirst. But we're not talking about a normal physical thirst that you can just quench with a nice glass of water. It's a burning, compulsive kind of thirst. Imagine someone stranded in the middle of the ocean. They are so incredibly thirsty that out of pure desperation, they drink the seawater. And what happens? The salt actually drains their body of whatever moisture it had left, making the thirst far more violent and desperate than it was before. That is the true essence of Taṇhā. It's our constant effort to find permanent security in temporary things. Every single time we chase some external distraction to fix an internal feeling of emptiness, we are essentially drinking salt water and calling it the pursuit of happiness.
Now, right away, people often think, wait a second, doesn't Buddhism say we should give up all desires? What if I desire to be a better person or, desire to help my family? We actually have to separate Taṇhā, which is compulsive craving, from Chanda, which translates to wholesome intention. Let's go back to the phone. If you put your phone down and 5 minutes later your hand is literally shaking to pick it back up just to doom scroll, that's Taṇhā. You are passively being pulled by an addiction. The tool is using you. But if you pick up your phone intentionally to read a useful article, and when you're done you just calmly put it down without feeling that weird sense of lack, that is Chanda. It's an active, conscious choice. So what we want to cure today is absolutely not your ambition to do good things in the world, but rather that compulsive, saltwater craving of Taṇhā.
Let's move on to Section 2. The 3 forms of craving.
The first form is sensual craving, and this is definitely the most obvious one. It's the thirst for sensory pleasure, wanting to see beautiful things, taste delicious food, hear pleasant sounds. But the problem isn't the pleasant feeling itself, it's the hidden mechanism behind it. I mean, have you ever housed an entire tub of ice cream? Not because the 10th bite actually tasted as good as the first one, but because you were desperately, almost tragically chasing the feeling of that very first bite? Modern neurobiology actually calls this the dopamine loop. Our brain releases the most dopamine, not when we finally get what we want, but when we are anticipating it. It's exactly like mindlessly scrolling a social media feed at 2 a.m. Your thumb is practically numb, but your brain is absolutely hooked on the hunt for the next hit, totally blind to the actual experience you're having.
The second form is the craving to become. And man, is this deeply relevant today. It's the exhausting, nonstop need to construct an identity. You want to be successful. You want to be recognized. You want to be seen as the expert. Just think about the anxiety of posting a photo online and sitting there waiting for the likes to roll in. That anxiety? It comes from a desperate need for external validation just to confirm that your self has value. It's pretty much the engine behind modern narcissism and hustle culture. And the really sneaky trap is, once you achieve a goal, you don't actually get to rest. You immediately have to find a new goal, because if you stop moving, the illusion of yourself starts to dissolve, and to the ego, that feels utterly terrifying.
Then we have the third form, the craving not to be. This is the darker, kind of less talked about side of craving. It's the intense desire to escape, to run away, to completely disconnect, or just erase yourself from the heavy pressures of daily life. When things get way too overwhelming, we just want to numb out or disappear entirely. But here is the profound insight from the source material. Wanting to disappear is still a form of craving. It is a desperate attachment to the illusion of a self that you feel needs to be deleted. True freedom isn't escaping reality. It's seeing through the illusion of the self so clearly that the need to either build it up or tear it down just naturally fades away.
Section 3. Timeless metaphors. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept of the monkey mind. The ancient text describes a monkey leaping through the forest, grabbing one branch only to immediately let it go so it can reach for the next one, its eyes constantly scanning for the next piece of fruit.
I mean, think about your own attention span right this second, bouncing from an email to a text message to a quick video to an anxious thought about tomorrow. The mind refuses to just accept reality as it is. It's constantly chasing this false promise that the next branch, the next swipe, or the next distraction is going to be the thing that finally brings satisfaction.
And the texts give us 3 more vivid warnings about this. First, the sticky trap. Imagine a monkey touches a sticky resin trap, gets one hand stuck, uses the other hand to free it, gets that one stuck, and soon it's just entirely bound. This perfectly represents how we try to use one craving to fix another craving, like jumping headfirst into a toxic rebound relationship to cure the pain of loneliness. It doesn't work, it just compounds the suffering. Then you've got the hidden roots. You might think you've totally conquered a bad habit, but the roots are actually just dormant, waiting for the rain of a really stressful day to sprout right back up. And finally, the strangling creeper vine. Craving doesn't destroy you all at once. It starts as a tiny, completely harmless-looking vine, but over time it silently wraps around the host tree, which is your mind, until it completely suffocates it.
This brings us to what is perhaps the most famous metaphor, the 2 arrows. Life basically guarantees that we will all face hardship, illness, or loss at some point. That is the first arrow, and it is totally unavoidable. It's the physical pain or the objective reality of a tough situation. But the real tragedy is that we almost always shoot ourselves with a second arrow. The second arrow is our reaction. It's the anger, the why is this happening to me, the desperate craving for reality to be different than it currently is. We absolutely cannot control the first arrow, but the mental anguish of the second arrow, that is entirely self-inflicted by our own craving.
Now, what's really interesting here is the idea of craving as a weaver, an invisible tailor. It takes a feeling from the past, stitches it directly to an anxiety about the future, and sews it all together into this incredibly tight, heavy garment that we call ourself. And we spend our whole lives carrying around this heavy coat of identity. But if the weaver just stops sewing, if we actually stop reacting with craving to every single passing feeling, the threads start to loosen. That heavy coat of the ego naturally unravels, and we are left with this profound, unburdened sense of freedom.
Section 4. The mechanism of craving.
The ancient texts mapped this psychological code out flawlessly, and it all happens in a fraction of a second. Step 1 is contact. Your senses hit the outside world. Maybe you see an ad for a luxury car, or someone leaves a totally rude comment on your post. Step 2 is feeling. A raw, immediate biological sensation arises. It's either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. You feel a sudden rush of excitement, or maybe a tight knot of anger in your stomach. And hey, this is totally natural. But here is where the trap snaps shut. Step 3 is craving. If you aren't paying close attention, that pleasant feeling instantly triggers a craving to possess, or that unpleasant feeling triggers a craving to destroy or escape.
This gap right here, this microsecond gap, is the most important takeaway of the entire explainer. You cannot stop contact, and you certainly cannot stop feeling, but freedom lies right in that gap between feeling and craving. If you can observe that knot of anger in your stomach or that rush of excitement as just a passing biological event without reacting to it, you literally cut the power cord. You stop the entire machine. You transition from being an anxious participant to a calm, objective observer.
Let's move to our final part and see how this builds into an actionable cure. Section 5. 5 steps to freedom.
Step 1. You absolutely must see the hidden danger in the sweetness. When you crave social media validation, look past those sweet little likes. Recognize the exhausting danger of placing your self-worth in the hands of total strangers. Step 2. When an urge hits, just sit with it. Notice your breathing, watch that wave of craving rise and fall without actually acting on it. Step 3. We substitute. Use wholesome desires, like learning or healing, to fight off the toxic desires. Step 4. Cultivate equanimity. Realize your feelings are just passing weather. They are not a permanent self. And finally, step 5, make this a daily practice of right view, right action, and right mindfulness.
So the crucial point here is perfectly captured by the raft strategy. Like we mentioned in step 3, you do not try to brutally crush all desire overnight. That doesn't work. Instead, you use wholesome desires, the desire for mindfulness, the desire to learn, the desire for awakening as a raft. You build this raft to carry you safely across the turbulent river of suffering. But, and this is the absolute genius of the philosophy, once you reach the other shore, you don't pick that heavy raft up and carry it on your back. You eventually let go of even the desire to be enlightened. You just exist, fully and completely free.
Overcoming this craving, it goes against our deepest, hardwired biological survival instincts. It is a massive internal revolution. But every single time you pause, observe an urge, and actively choose not to react, you are breaking a chain. And no one can do this for you. You must be your own lamp, your own refuge.
So, the next time you sit down to a perfect meal and feel that itch to grab your phone, just pause. Take a deep breath. Choose to be exactly where you are. The real question is, what will you discover about yourself in that quiet gap between feeling and craving? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep observing, and I'll see you in the next one.